The costumes on this film were so incredible. Every single thing that Linda has done is to a T. Everything looks beautiful. It moves so beautifully. It just looks amazing on screen. To get to exist in them, to perform in them, has just been an absolute dream.
Hello, Focus Fashion fans, and welcome to this very special episode of Dress, a series that celebrates the costumes of Focus Features films. Today, I am visiting the set of Robert Eggers' NOSFERATU right here on the backlot of the legendary Barrandov Studios in Prague, Czech Republic. This film is filled with authentic handcrafted designs from 19th century Europe, and I can't wait to meet up with costume designer Linda Muir to sink our teeth into all of those elaborate details.
This evil, what it is, I know not. There is a dread storm rising.
Linda, thank you so much for taking the time and sitting down with us. This is an incredibly detail-oriented, research-heavy, intensive movie. What particularly about this script drew you to this?
It's a fantastic combination of horror film, historical drama, otherworldly characters. I mean, there's just so much in it, and working with Robert is just too special to not do.
The character of Ellen Hutter, played by Lily Rose Depp, who's really the main female protagonist in this movie. How did you go about sort of wardrobing her?
Ellen is fascinating. She has had, since childhood, an otherworldly connection. There was always the idea of her wardrobe being ethereal. She perhaps comes from a wealthier background, but in her marriage to Thomas, she is living with less. It doesn't bother her. It is Thomas that she wants. She does not have a maid that helps her with her clothing. So there were a few things that presented themselves as ideal. At the period, if you had a maid, you would have a corset that does up the back.
And that's the corset we all know,
Exactly.
the lacing. Someone helps you lace that corset.
Yes, a self-tying corset does up in the back, and then the laces come around to the front. You're actually pulling on your own tension in order to tighten it. You don't need a maid behind you pulling and tightening it.
And this is a real detail of the time.
This is a real detail. Dr. Sievers uses this as a prescription, and so for the story, it really does help us. We also have beautiful hand embroidery. It's such a beautiful architectural piece.
There's something so modern about this right now that I think a young girl today could put this on and walk out and go to something really fun. Like there's something really modern about just the underpinnings itself and the corset and the skirt. It's so beautiful. But my lesson of the day, I never knew there was a self-tying corset, much less that it came from the 1830s.
Why have you killed these beautiful flowers?
Let us put them in water.
They will only die in a few days. Throw them out.
Lilac is sort of a really subtle nod throughout the entire movie. Why lilac?
Well, in the script that Robert has written, lilacs are featured. Orlok has a memory of lilacs. He can still smell it whenever he comes in contact with Ellen's hair. It was what she wore at her wedding. And so it was important for me to have that as an echo throughout the film. It did present the opportunity of using the lilac color in the first evening outfit that Ellen wears at Harding's. So we did handmade flowers that are embroidered and beaded on the front of the dress and on the sleeves of the dress, but we also did them on the back so that we would be able to have more embellishment on the back of the dress as well when we go in for that particular moment.
I have been entertaining dealings with a foreign count, very old line of nobility, very old and eccentric. He's too infirm to travel, so you needs must journey to him. He lives in a small country, isolated in the Carpathian Alps.
In our script, Thomas travels to Transylvania. This is a typical carrot coat. It's caped to take away the weather. It's worn with tails, waistcoat, cravat. This is all lined and is actually a warm garment. At the period, you could do fall front, which is what this style is. So this is the little pocket where the pocket watch goes in. Orlok can see it easily. So there's always the practical that has to go along with the beautiful. We learned how to do a lot of different techniques just for the practical side of the costuming. They are very active costumes. The actors are ripping them open, writhing in the mud. So there was the emotional and there was the practical.
This costume I want to ask you about as well because it's very different.
This is classic Robert Eggers. When Thomas escapes the castle, he's only escaped in a minimal amount of clothing, so I kept him in his trousers and he borrowed the clothing of the stable person whose horse he also borrowed. And that is this Bukovina outfit. Robert and I thought that it was the prettiest clothing and offered a really lovely visual, and was also within the realm of possibilities for where he could have traveled. So this is all hand embroidered.
It's amazing, though, the work on this and the finish and,
Yes.
and the detail on the inside of the coat, too.
This actually is a vintage piece that we purchased and embellished. We lengthened the sleeves, we added more gussets, but this piece kept bothering me because I wasn't quite sure of its origins. And I finally found that it is a Transylvanian church coat for a tiny group of Saxon people, and it's flowers on the outside, fur on the inside. So it's kind of like costume kismet.
It was meant to be.
I envy you. I envy you. You've truly taken your father's place now. It's incredible. The bloody responsibility is crushing, Thomas, crushing.
For Harding, what we were trying to show was the wealth. Thomas has one top hat. Harding, on the other hand, has, I think, 4 top hats in varying colors. When they are together, we can, by comparison, get more information about who they are. This is evening attire. This is actually the first time that we see Harding. Whereas Thomas was wearing a white waistcoat, Harding has white and black. Black is less formal, so he's gone for entertaining my friends. We used jeweled covered buttons over the button of your shirt.
And that was a subtle nod to wealth as well.
He has more reflective things. His cravats have more shine. He has finer wool.
There's a lot more color, a lot more texture, a lot more pattern. And I love that sort of distinction. It's a subtle one, but still a distinction between wealth and middle class.
What is it, my lovely? May I stay with you tonight?
On this film, mostly what I was looking for were fabrics that evoked the period, but also were meant to represent upper class, middle class, lower class. For Anna, who is Harding's wife, she and the children are luxuriously dressed. What I was going for was a visual representation of she is the most precious thing for her husband.
Linda, I think this is incredible. And I mean, to stand here surrounded by this array of dresses from Anna, this really shows that display of wealth and opulence, and especially in contrast to Ellen's character.
Ellen's are a simpler cut. They're piped edges. There's a tiny bit of lace, but they're not nearly as over-the-top feminine as what Anna's are. Anna's are also softer. There are more ruffles, there's more frills. And her nightgowns have much more fabric in them. They have more details. There's more embroidery on them.
Our friendship is a precious balm to my heart.
We had the opportunity to show the fragility of Ellen in the various nightgowns that she wears. They are slightly less affluent, very simple, very vulnerable. It creates for Ellen and for Lily Rose, who is portraying Ellen, a kind of beautiful state of mind.
I have wrestled with the devil as Jacob wrestled the angel in Peniel. And I tell you, if we are to tame darkness, we must first face that it exists.
Willem Dafoe plays Von Franz. He is a student of all things mysterious. He is on Orlok's trail. He's wearing a carrot coat. It's a slightly earlier version than the one that we see on Thomas Hutter. He spends a lot of time in his attic reading. In his attic, he wears his banyan and cap. He wears Cossack-style trousers, which is a slightly earlier style, and Eastern-influenced curled-toe leather slippers.
You look tired, young man. Schnapps?
He also has braces, which we found and then adapted.
I think it shows a level of quiet eccentricity.
Yeah,
Like where
yeah.
it's subtle enough, but quirky enough compared to the other male characters I think you see in this film.
With the patina on Willem's costume, we have wine stains, ink stains. It was a very sort of fine edge to show that he doesn't really care about fashion. He doesn't care really about what's right in society's eyes, but not have him be so unkept that he would be discredited.
It's so fitting for this character too. Like just this that one little nod that you're like, oh, I get him.
Yeah. Throughout the film, we tried to infuse period accuracy with all of these different places and characters. It was pretty amazing to see the worlds just mixing and blending and become what we see on screen.
So I know you've been busy with production, so I thank you for sitting down with me and talking about these incredible costumes. I thank you so much.
Thank you.
My dreams grow darker. Does evil come from within us? Or from beyond?
We are here encountering Evangelia. Nosferatu.